coming up in this episode.
I hold the record for being the longest detained without charge British citizen in the modern history of the UK. I lost all my appeals and I was extradited to the US. I was put in blindfolds and shackles. I'm not going to be one of those people that is just going to feel sad and just talk about it. I'm going to do something. I want to do something. And then they killed the child. Then they got the body of the child, they cut it up and they put it into a mincemeat making machine, meat grinder. Bosnia was different because it was done with a level of hatred that is unparalleled. And the hatred was not just we want your land. We don't want your land. We want your blood. We want revenge.
In this episode, I sat down with Babar Ahmad, a person who I've longed to speak to. I met him once before, some years ago, just very briefly in passing, but after going on a mission to get hold of him, I finally made it. Babar Ahmad is the longest serving UK prisoner to be detained without charge, and he also happens to be someone who fought in the Bosnian War. Now, even though I came a little bit late to the interview, as I was conducting another interview for a different project before that went kind of over, nevertheless, he greeted me with warmth, we embraced with a very long hug, and I felt a radiant energy shine from him, as if we were two long lost friends that are finally reunited. He made sure that I ate, we had a little chat, we conducted the interview, and I still continued talking to him after asking him so many questions. So I appreciate him for that time. This is someone definitely that I can sit with for hours and hours and hours on end. A man with so many deep insights and so many special stories to tell. And here is part of that story. Let's begin episode 6. I am here with someone who I've wanted to meet for a very, very long time. I did happen to meet him a few years ago in passing. Someone that I actually found a bit difficult to reach as well, but alhamdulillah, eventually we got there. This is a brother that many people know about in the UK, especially. Someone that I actually campaigned for when I was in school as well. So there's a historical, emotional connection there, I guess. And this is someone that I couldn't really do this project without interviewing. So hence I've decided to come and interview him, and that is none other than Babar Ahmad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for inviting me onto this to speak about. I mean, I know I'm hard to get hold of, but Bosnia is a soft spot. It's part of me is in Bosnia, and part of Bosnia resides in me, and it will be forever. So it's something which is dear to my heart, and I'm always happy to talk about it. So thank you for coming and talking to me. For those who don't know me, my name is Babar Ahmad. I was born, brought up in South London. Went to school here. I was at university. I went to Bosnia when I was 18. I was involved in aid work there, and then later the war, throughout the war from the start to the end. Then I set up this website. I also went to Chechnya after that, and then after that I set up a website to talk about the stories of brothers that I lost in the war in Bosnia. And the name of that website was Azam Publications. We used to provide news, what was happening in Chechnya from the view of the insurgents who were fighting the Russians at the time. Then the world changed on 9/11, and suddenly any Muslim with a gun, any Muslim who picked up arms to defend Muslims anywhere, regardless of context or circumstances, became a terrorist. So I was attacked. So I was anti-terrorist police raided my house in 2003. For the next, I think, about 40 minutes or so, was early morning raid. They subjected me to an ordeal of physical, verbal, religious, and sexual abuse. I got to the police station. I had 73 injuries, including bleeding in my ears and urine. I developed post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD after that. a few months I was released without charge, and a few months later, then I was arrested on my way to work, not on my way back from work. And this time it was on an extradition warrant from the United States of America. I then spent the next 8 years in high security UK prisons fighting not to go to the US, fighting against that extradition request. I hold the record for being the longest detained without charge British citizen in the modern history of the UK. It was 8 years and 2 months I was held in the UK without trial, without charge. 5 of those years was in isolation, small group isolation. So in October 2012, I lost all my appeals and I was extradited to the US. I was put in blindfolds and shackles and air defenders and put on a private jet, extradited to USA. In 2012, I spent 2 years in a supermax prison next to Connecticut's death row. I spent 2 years there. Then after, I think 1.5 years into that, this complete solitary confinement. 1.5 years into that, then I pleaded guilty for allowing 2 articles to go up on that website that I set up, which broke US law. The judge, I finally came before the judge in July 2014, who looked at all the evidence against me and said, this man's not a terrorist. She said, but you've pleaded guilty, so I have to sentence you. And she just gave me another 12 months and I came home in 2015. That's basically my story.
And there's a lot written about you online. If people just Google search it, there's a lot of articles, a lot of news articles. There's a very good podcast actually to watch. It's a long podcast, but it's a very, very worthy podcast that you guys should watch. Just Google Babar Ahmad podcast and you will find it. It's one of the first links that will come up actually. Jazakallah khair for that. So tell me, growing up in the UK as a Muslim, going to university in London, how did you end up being concerned with what's going on in Bosnia? How did the news come to you? What was actually going on at that time? Because I know from my research that you were involved quite early. Like a lot of people were involved in 94, 95, 93. And your heavy involvement seems to be quite early, like in 1992. What was the things that kind of led up to that moment of you being in the UK, being a student, and then ending up in Bosnia?
The story actually starts 7 years before I went to Bosnia. I was 11 years old, went to school in Clapham Junction, and I was coming back from school, and a group of 5 guys, older teenagers, then they stopped me, and basically they put their hands in my pockets and they mugged me. They took some pens and stuff like that. So that happened outside the pub, and there were people sitting on the tables outside the pub. It's like they're a few meters away, and no one did anything. No one said anything. They could have said, "Oi!" They could have shouted. They could have. I mean, these were teenagers, and there's like adults sitting there. They could have just shouted. They could have said something, which might have scared them away. But people just ignored it. They just sat there as if nothing was happening. And I remember after that I put in my mind that if ever I was in a situation, I would not want to be the one that just walks away. That I would want to try and help someone, however it was, even if it was by saying something. I remember when I was at school, the BBC had this series called The World at War, which is about the Second World War. And sometimes, in those days, we had no internet, there's no YouTube, there's nothing. You come back from school, you just watch whatever's on TV and just to pass the time. And The World at War, they'd have this, documentary showing. I remember I saw one about the Holocaust, about the Auschwitz, and that affected me. I still remembered it. it I just thought, I wonder if something like that happened when happened in my lifetime, what would I do about it? So that happened. I was doing my A levels just a couple of months. The war began about a month or two before I did my A levels. I was watching on the news. News was the only source, and newspapers. Not really. I mean, I wouldn't really read newspapers, but the news bulletin. He was talking about Bosnia, and it was a bit confusing to me where you got the Bosnians, and then they're talking about the Bosnian Croats, then you got the Bosnian Serbs, then you got the Bosnian Muslims, and then you got the Croats, and then who are another group, then you got the Serbs proper. And so that was, the war started in April 92. In September 92, I went on a trip to Turkey and Egypt. All of the Muslim world people were talking about Bosnia. In Egypt, in Alexandria, I went to there was a big football stadium where like 100,000 people had gathered, and they were having a protest about Bosnia. I didn't really know much. I mean, I'm like 18. I just went for the holiday. I'm not really interested in. I mean, I'm religious. I'm praying and all that, but I don't really know what is happening in Bosnia. Or it's not really an issue for me. I just gone there to have fun. I'm in a new country. Then on the way back from Egypt, we were in transit. So I was with like a group of about 60, 70 people, all young people. We'd gone there for like a Islamic holiday type thing. And at Istanbul airport, I remember that we were at Istanbul airport, and there was a group of about 10 guys, Turks, and they had long beards, which is at that time in Turkey was like, you got to be crazy to have a long beard, because it was a secular country and people like that were discriminated against. So these guys were like, they didn't give a damn about anything. They had long beards, and so there's about 10 of them, and there's like a flurry of activity happening where two guys go off, then they come back with some paperwork like passports or tickets in their hand, then two other guys come and they go, and like something's going on. Like we couldn't understand their language, we didn't know, but they just looked out of place. Like, they're not going on holiday, they're not going on Hajj, they're not, that something's like going on. Then I think one of us went up to them and asked them, like, where are you guys going? And he said Bosnia. And they weren't going to Bosnia to deliver aid. They weren't part of it was very obvious why they were going there by their body language. And they didn't have, if you're going there for aid, you'll be taking boxes or medicine, or you'll be going as part of an aid organization. There's nothing like that. I think one of them even said that we're going to Bosnia for jihad or something like that. And that image just stuck in my mind, that because I'd read about these the Sahaba and then the companions, and people would fight and everything, and I didn't think that happens in our day and age. But now I've like seen these guys, and I saw a lot of people making noise in Egypt. I mean, maybe they did whatever they could do. But these guys, they're not making any noise. They're going like they're going to catch a flight in a couple of hours or so, and they're actually going. So December came, and I think that term, like October, November, there was a lot of noise in the community about Bosnia, videos going around. There's one that I saw, massacres in Bosnia, which was like an unedited. I think Shahid, but he talks about it was a famous video. For those young brothers who don't know what video is basically, it's like a little plastic thing which you stick into this big chunky machine, and you press play, and then something comes up on the screen. You can Google a video VHS cassette is, but these were being passed around, and it just showed some horrific things of what's happening to Muslims in Bosnia. And when I saw that, then I resolved that I need to go there. I didn't know what I was going to do there.
What was it showing?
He's showing us a video. I remember, like, it was like an unedited raw uh, video that had been filmed, I think by a doctor or someone. Um, Bodies of people, bodies of Muslims there, with their private parts have been cut off. Women with breasts have been cut off. People, their throats have been slit. It's like something out of an abattoir. And these are Muslims, and it's being done to them by Serb nationalists who are Orthodox Christians, and it's only being done to them because they're Muslims. Some of the scenes, it stuck in my mind. Yeah, like the throats being slit. I'd never seen anything like that before, and there's no internet in those days, so it's not like nowadays people are desensitized to it. Where you get some video, whatever, and whatever, and you just like don't bat an eyelid. But for me, it was quite, yeah, it had quite an impact when I saw that. So I'm seeing stuff on the news about concentration camps that people with like ribs sticking out, and Muslim men. There was one ITV news report, I think it was August 92, where they went to the Omarska concentration camp, and there was a guy standing behind barbed wire, young guy, and you can see his ribs. And that reminded me of the stuff I'd seen from the videos of like people that were liberated from Auschwitz in the Second World War. So I think by September, October, I had resolved that I'm not going to be one of those people that is just going to feel sad and just talk about it. I'm going to do something. I want to do something. I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, but I just knew I need to, let me get there and I'll figure out whatever it is. And so, so December, my university holidays, then I basically, just just bought a ticket to Zagreb, and I just went there.
So you were at university at the time. You decided, and from what I remember, you went to Imperial College, which is it's one of the top universities in the world, not just this country. So you decided, let me put this on hold for a bit, or spend my holidays rather than studying or revising. Let me go and see what's happening there. When you arrived there, what was it like when you first arrived? What did you see? What was going through your mind? You're still 18 at the time, right? And what happens from then on? What was the whole trip like that you went on?
So I landed in Zagreb airport. I remember seeing C-130 Hercules transport plane, never seen that before. That's at the airport. Big containers being rolled out of the plane, UN everywhere. There's like a buzz, there's like a flurry of activity that something's happening here. Press, loads of press, people with like these big cases which have like cameras in it and everything. Like something is happening here. You know that something is happening here which is not normal. I'd never seen that flurry, like that level of activity before. I spent some time in Zagreb. Went to Zagreb Central Mosque, which had been turned into a makeshift refugee center. There's about 2,000 people there. About 2,000 people are there. And one thing I think that struck me was all the people there. So there's like mainly women and children there in like a large hall. But these are European. These are 100% European Muslim. I mean, I'd seen like white-skinned Muslims before in the UK. They were like converts, reverts. But these are like ethnic native Muslims. And they are blonde-haired and blue-eyed. Wearing jeans, women with blonde hair, blue eyes, wearing jeans, cleaning the toilets. But they're Muslim. They're not converts or reverts. They're like born Muslims and have been for many generations. So that affected me. That was, I think, first time in my life I've seen refugees up front. Yeah.
This is in Croatia.
Yeah, this is Zagreb. Yeah, this is in Croatia. So I'm nowhere near Bosnia. I'm in the neighboring country. These small mats were laid out. There's a lot of noise there. There's 4 toilets for like 2,000 people. They're trying to... it's really cold. A mother trying to put her children to sleep. She's just got two bags full of possessions. That impacted me. So meanwhile, we're talking. Someone gave me a phone number, contact there, and I'm just hanging around this person. He speaks the language. Then I'm talking to the locals, and he's interpreting. So I'm hearing stories now of what's going on. Ethnic cleansing. It's happening at a very deeply personal, violent level. In years since, and not to diminish, death is death, slaughter is slaughter, genocide is genocide, not to diminish any sort of any other conflict that's happened since. But Bosnia was different because it was done with a level of hatred that is unparalleled. And the hatred was not just we want your land, like it's happening in Gaza, for example, that we're going to humiliate you and kill you, we're going to break you because we want your land. It was more than that. It was, we don't want your land, we want your blood, we want revenge. Quran being used as toilet paper, mosques being destroyed, imams having their private parts imams being castrated, rape as a tool of war, women being gang raped, Muslim women, girls, even elderly weren't spared, being gang raped by these drunk Serb soldiers. So I'm hearing all of these stories, various accounts and stories I'm hearing. After a few days in Croatia, then there was a convoy. So I did some relief work there, just lifting sacks of rice and flour and loading trucks and all that. Then sometime after that, there was an opportunity to go accompany a convoy into Bosnia. So I jumped at that chance, and I did it, and we drove into Bosnia. And I remember Mostar was the first big city that I came to, and one side, the Muslim side of Mostar, every house and every mosque had been destroyed, and then across the river, the Croatian side was completely intact. It was like a stark difference. So we made it there. It was everywhere, driving through Bosnia, just seeing houses with holes in them, apartment buildings was Sarajevo. I didn't go to Sarajevo on that trip, but houses which have been destroyed, and mosques. I can't remember seeing a mosque which had an upstanding minaret. So eventually we made it to a town called Travnik in central Bosnia. So I'm in Travnik now, just visiting. It's bitterly cold. There's snow there. And I remember walking through the streets of Travnik in the evening, and I see some guy who's wearing army clothes. He's got an AK-47, young guy in his 20s. He's not white-skinned. I see this guy, and he's an Arab. He's from Saudi Arabia. He's a student in America. He goes, I came here to fight. And I'm like, wow. So anyway, there was a school that had been turned into a makeshift refugee camp, 4 or 5 stories high. And there's hundreds of refugees staying there. The classrooms had been turned into like living quarters. Sheets and all that had been put there. So we're just hanging out there, and I don't know. I don't even know what we were doing there, but we're just hanging out there, talking to the people. And I remember this guy came and he told this story. He told a story about what happened to his when the Serb paramilitaries came to his village. That they came to his village, and there was this woman, and she had a 2-3-year-old baby. They violated the baby in front of the mother, and then they killed the child, and then they got the body of the child, they cut it up, and they put it into a mincemeat making machine, meat grinder, and then they cooked that mince and they forced the mother to eat it at gunpoint. The guy's telling this story. It happened to a woman in his village, and he starts to cry after he's telling that story, that this was happening to us. I'm hearing it through a translator, obviously, but it wasn't. The story was shocking, but it wasn't shocking based on everything else that I had heard in the time that I'd already been in Bosnia.
I've done so many interviews.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let me get you some tissue. Sorry, I should have given you some warning, because I've relayed this story so many times. I forget, because I've relayed it so many times, I forget how shocking it is to someone who hears it for the first time. So that had an impact on me. So it was shocking, but it wasn't that shocking based on all the other collection of stories that I'm hearing at that time. So I was in line with those. Yeah, I'm only 18, yeah. And I'm hearing so many things, and I'm seeing so many things. I haven't had time to really process what's going on. So that story, that affected me quite deeply. I had a difficult night that night, and it was really cold as well. Couldn't sleep. Just tossing and turning. And then basically in the morning, I decided that I don't want to give food and medicine to people to whom this is happening, and I want to stop it happening. So there was like a Bosnian army headquarters, or there's like a Bosnian army center or something, like some sort of building. And I just went there and I said, I want to go and I want to fight for your people. I want to help defend your people. I said I know how to use a gun. I mean, I sort of bigged up my credentials because I used to be in the cadets at school. I mean, I did know how to use firearms and all that, but I'm not like a trained soldier. But I said, look, I know how to use firearms and I'm trained. I want to help defend your people. So then they put me in a minibus, and after about an hour, I can't remember how long it was, maybe a couple of hours or so, we came to this village, maybe an hour I think it was. We came to this town called Mehoric, somewhere in central Bosnia, and that was the first base of the foreign fighters, of the foreign Mujahideen fighters. When the minibus stopped, or when the van stopped, this guy came up to me, a short guy, average height. He had a squint in his eyes. He's wearing a beret. So he had military fatigues, and he's wearing a beret, which had La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah written across it. He took my rucksack straight away off my back to carry it. Then he asked me, what's your name? And I told him, Babar Ahmad. He said, no. He goes, what's your kunya? What's your kunya? I said, I don't have a kunya. So then he gave me a kunya. Kunya is like a sort of nickname, or an Abu something. So he was the commander of the foreign fighters in Bosnia. This humble guy. He had a squint in his eye. Others, they described that this guy could shoot in 3 seconds or in 2 seconds. He could shoot 6 targets in different locations. He could shoot and hit the target 6 times, like something. People seen him do that. So anyway, I stayed there for a few days. There was a training camp there. Not a training camp. I mean, it's like a house basically. Yeah, it's literally one house in the middle of the snow-capped mountains, and there was about 7 of us staying there. And the purpose of this thing was just to make sure you know how to use these weapons. So literally, yeah, there's about 7 people there in that house. Yeah, we'd get up in the morning. There was a bathtub full of water. We'd break the ice, take water from there, and you'd go in the snow, find a corner, and you'd go to the bathroom, and then you'd wash yourself with that icy water. You make wudu in that. Water is really cold; it burns. And then we'd go for a run. We'd run, and I remember there was like ice. I remember I slipped and I cut my knee quite badly. But I remember feeling happy because there's a hadith that the Prophet said that anyone who gets injured in the path of Allah, then and Allah knows best who's injured in His way, then on the Day of Judgment, that wound will be spurting blood, whose color will be red like blood, but its smell will be like the smell of musk. So I remember, even though it's quite bad, I mean, it's superficial, but I remember feeling like, yes, I felt like a sense of achievement that I've done something, and all I did was I just slipped somewhere on a thing. But I remember that. We'd come back and we'd eat simple food. Amongst the guys, there was I think there were like four guys from Britain. One was this British Turk, who's around about 50. Abu Muslim, his name was. He was from London. Yeah, he had a strong Turkish accent, so I think he was like first generation Turkish migrant to the UK. And we'd talk, and then there was this. He was later killed in the war. Then there was this Qatari guy who was a member of the national. He was an athlete, Olympic athlete, member of the national handball team. Abu Khalid, his name was. He had this briefcase which had airport stickers from all over the world. I remember I asked him, I said, when you going back home to your country? And he smiled. And so he was a dark-skinned, like a Qatari of African descent. But I think to this day, I don't believe I've ever met a guy in my life who had more nur or more light. When he would walk into that room, it was like someone turned the lights on, and his black skin. Yeah, he said. I said, when you going back home? He said, I want to be shaheed here. And he only spoke Arabic. He didn't speak any English. So we just used to stay there and live there and talk there and eat there. Sometime one of the commanders would come and they would sing nasheeds and songs. And one of the songs, I remember they would be singing Sarajevo Muba' wal Arabu Ruqud, that Sarajevo has been sold and the Arabs are still asleep, that it's been taken from under our noses. Different songs they'll be just singing about the situation, about war and all that. We prayed there. We'd eat there. We'd sleep there. We'd learn how to use. They taught us how to use the AK-47. I mean, it wasn't even really. Yeah, you asked what was the training like. It wasn't even. It wasn't. I mean, it's called training. It's not really proper training. It's just like you learn how to use the weapon inside the room. The AK-47, you have to make sure you can strip it and put it back together again. You do that blindfold as well. Then when we went out to fire it, we only got 9 bullets because there's not much ammunition there. So you get 3 bullets standing up, 3 bullets sitting, and 3 bullets lying down, just to make sure that you know how to do it. You got to throw a hand grenade. So I spent some time there, and I remember there was this incident with the dog where, so we were in one house on the mountainside, and about half an hour away through the forest, there was another house that sort of belonged to us. And so once I went there with another fighter, I went there to deliver some message or get something, and there was a bathroom in there that had electricity. It had a light, it had running hot water, and it had this heater that you could just switch on. And you are like, I saw this, I thought, wow, this place is like, I just stayed in that bathroom, and I wasn't even doing anything. I just like turned the tap on, I just put my hands in it, and I just like, I just like exhaled, and eventually I came back. And then I think a day or so went by, and Abu Muslim wasn't there. The older Turkish brother. Half a day went by. Afternoon comes, evening comes. He's not there. Next day comes. A couple of days have gone by now, and he's not. So then I asked someone. I said, "Where's Abu Muslim?" And the brother, he's from one of the Western countries, and he said to me, he goes, "Akhi, because Abu Muslim's found a place to chill out, and that's what he's doing." Basically, for some excuse, he had gone to the other house, and he didn't come back. He's meant to give the message and come back. Well, bro is just like chilling there for like 2 days. I didn't blame him. So one time I had to go to deliver a message, and it was late at night. I was by myself, so I thought, okay, I've done this trip several times before to the other house. I go there, you go to the forest, you walk through it, and then you come out. So I enter the forest now, and then I get lost. And it's dark, there's no lights, there's nothing, I don't have a torch. And then I'm like, hang on, okay, is it from here? Is it from there? And I get lost, I don't know where I'm going. Then this dog appears out of nowhere. Never seen that dog before. It just comes out of nowhere. It comes in front of me. It just sort of looks at me. Then it turns around, walks a few steps. Then it stops, turns around, looks at me. As in, it's telling me to follow it. So I walk through. I followed this. I'm following this dog for about 20 minutes or so. Then when we get to the edge of the forest, then I see the house, and I just start walking. Then the dog, it just disappears. I never saw that. Never saw that dog again. So we stayed there for a while, stayed there for a few days. Then from there we went to this village. It was called Biala Bucha. Biala Bucha was a small like village which was surrounded by the Serbs. To enter it, we had to dodge behind trees because the Serb snipers would be firing at us, so we couldn't go there by car. The car dropped us off on the other side of the mountain, and we had to walk. We had to literally like walk from tree to tree, in case they would like pick us off. So went to Biala Bucha, and there's about 50 foreign fighters there. By foreign fighters, so these were mainly Arabs, and a lot of them, at least the commanders, were ones that had just defeated the Soviet Union in Afghanistan 6 months earlier. So April 92 is when the conquest of Kabul happened and the communist regime fell. And you're talking like 6, 7, 8 months later now, these guys are in Bosnia.
So these are Arab Muslims who are fighting in Afghanistan, in a country that's quote unquote not theirs.
Yeah.
And as soon as they see the Ummah struggling elsewhere, they've literally just finished one war, they've picked up their bags and they've gone to the next.
These guys had and I said that on the other podcast, they had this aura. They had this swag. Swag is the word. They got these berets with Galima written on it. They got these military fatigues. And I'm just like a nobody. I'm just like a newbie. I've just like come there and I'm trying to like learn and find. These guys, the confidence with which they walked. We've defeated the Soviet Union. We've defeated the Russians. We've defeated one of the world's greatest superpowers. We're not scared of these little Serb paramilitaries or nothing. They weren't scared. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they just got on with doing it. And just like if you're around those people, you feel like, okay, as long as I'm with one of those, then then it's okay. I know. They'd wear these like dark glasses because there was a lot of snow there, and then the sun and snow reflection, and they had this long flowing hair and beards, and physically they weren't like tough or big as such, but the confidence with which what these guys had, the gravitas, the aura around them was just something that, and you could tell that, okay, he's one of them. You could tell straight away that even if some of them, they never had the beret or whatever, you could tell just by his body language that he's one of the ones that came from Afghanistan. A lot of Saudis, lots of Saudis. Our commander was a Saudi guy. So yeah, there's about 50 of us staying in this house, and the local Bosnians used to come and drop off food. It's freezing cold in that house. And then we went up for guard duty up to the top of the mountain, and stayed there for about, I think, a few days.
Still snowing.
Yeah, it's heavy snow. It's like -20 at the top of this mountain. And our instructions are, we're about 200 meters away from the Serbs, and you just stand there for your 2-hour shift while your other 2 or 3 people of your group, they'll be in the bunker sleeping or resting or eating or keeping the fire going. And you stand there with your rifle, with the bullet in the chamber, the safety catch off, pointing towards you're just looking the direction where the front line is. So if you see any movement, you basically you fire, and you alert your people day or night. Bitterly cold there. It was so cold, and there's no bathtub or ice. You clean yourself when you go to the bathroom. You clean yourself with snow. You make wudu in snow. That's what you're doing. That's what we used to do. After a few days, came back. I think then one of the days we went to do an attack on some of the Serb positions in the neighboring house, in the neighboring village. They had like 2 or 3 houses, and we attacked them with rocket-propelled grenades, and then we opened fire upon them. So they fired back. So if ever you're in a situation like in a war or a gunfight or something like that, if you hear a crack, then that's a bullet that's been fired from your side. If you hear shiong, shiong, if you hear that, then put your head down, then get the hell out of there, because you're being shot at.
And what, you're in a trench?
Yeah, we're in a trench, but obviously we have to put our heads up above the trench in order to shoot. So I think I had, how many magazines? Did I have 3 or 4 magazines? Each magazine holds 30 bullets, but you put 29 and you never put 30 because it can jam. You put like 29 bullets each. I remember a bullet landed. There was a brother next to me, and so in the beginning I was a bit scared. I'm like, oh my God, man, this is it. I'm on the front line now. This ain't no joke now. And part of me is thinking, Barbara, what the hell are you doing here? What are you doing? What planet are you on?
You should be in Imperial College getting your coffee.
Not just that, but you had many chances to turn back. I mean, you had many chances to turn back and whatever. I'm like, part of me is like, what the hell am I doing here? But I was a bit scared in the beginning. I was scared. I think the first magazine, or I think the first couple of magazines, I was a bit scared. And then after that bullet landed in the trench. I think it was a sniper. I'm not sure what it was, right? But it was a bullet, and it landed next to his head into the trench. Something's just somehow, Allah just gave some strength from somewhere, and I was just like, you know what? This is what I've come with it. I'm experiencing what I signed up for. If this is it, then there's no turning back from here. And I think that, yeah, on the 3rd magazine, then I just put my head up out of that trench, and I just fired, and I wasn't scared at all for the rest of it.
At that point, what was going through your mind? What was motivating you? What was it that was pushing you that was almost saying that this is a worthy cause or this is the right thing to do?
I mean, at that time, it's not you're not thinking too much because you have a task at hand. But I knew that this thing that I'm doing is to stop those people. Like, we attack them. We're sending them, because they surrounded that village. We're telling them that thou shalt not pass. You are not coming into this village. This village ain't like those other villages that you've overrun and you've raped the women. You are not coming into this village because there's some crazy people here. And there were crazy people. And I don't think they would have had the... we were harassing them. We were taking the fight to them. That, so I think it was... Yeah, it was a part of like... So some of it was like a sense of outrage, anger, you can call it, that you guys are tough when it comes to, raping defenseless women and children. Let's see how tough you are now, man to man. Part of it was wanting to punish the people that had done this to my brothers and sisters, and part of it was wanting to just doing something to help these people. And it wasn't, you're not thinking at that time, you're just thinking about the task at hand. You don't get time to think as much about that. But I remember then in that battle, all of their return fire was going up in the air. There was tracer rounds they were firing, and all their return fire was just going up in the air. Not all, most of it.
They're shooting above you.
Yeah, they're shooting in the sky. They're shooting at the clouds and all that. And I'm like, why are they shooting in the sky?
Maybe so the bullet lands on you, or...
No. They're shooting. Like, you can see the tracer rounds, and like, it's like we're sitting here and we're like watching a fireworks show, because a tracer round is a bullet that leaves like a trace of light, and it's sort of meant to be in the night to help direct fire. So that your group knows, okay, that's where we have to fire. So anyway, so we came back from there. Now, at that point now, it was time for me to either go back. Well, the time for me to go back to London and to continue with my studies. I'm like, I can't go home now. How can I go home and abandon these people? How can I abandon them? So I'm thinking now that I should basically pack in my university. There's no communication there. There's no phones. There's no way to... I said, somehow maybe I'll get a message to my family, if it's even possible. I don't know if it would be.
This time you haven't communicated with your family?
No. There's no phones there. No phones. There's no internet. There's no internet cafe. There's no phone booth or nothing.
At 18 years old, what's going through your parents' mind?
Yeah, well... yeah... I don't know, man. In a way, them not knowing was probably a good thing. They're just probably watching the news reports, but they don't have a clue what, they don't have a clue what I think even I don't know what I'm doing, but they don't have a clue what I'm going through. Okay. So, yeah. So anyway, I was pretty much convinced that I'm going to stay here now. I'm not going back to uni. How can I go back to uni when I've seen so much and this is what's happening and I'm making a difference now? I need to be here. There was a doctor, a Libyan doctor from Austria, as in he'd been living in Austria, and he came to Bosnia to help the Mujahideen, and he became one of their senior commanders. And I asked him, I said, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing, and what do you think? He's an educated guy, spoke English and all that. He said, I think you should go back and continue with your studies. You go, this war's going to go on for a while. You'll be more effective. You can go back. You can tell people about the situation. You can raise money. You can, support us from there. But over here, you're just going to hold a gun and just sit and drink tea waiting for some action to happen. And we have lots of people to hold guns, but we don't have many people to sort of tell the world about what's happening here. and I was convinced by what he said. So I came back, and I remember made it out to Split Airport. So Split is another city, it's on the Adriatic coast of Croatia, and made it to Split Airport like 5 a.m. or something, and waiting for the airport to open. Then I think 6 o'clock, it's whatever I've been through in the last few weeks, it hasn't really registered, it hasn't hit me what's happened. When the airport opened at 6 o'clock and they turned on the announcement thing, so they played this song. It's actually Sinead O'Connor. It was one of her songs, Nothing Compares to You. And that was the first song that they played, and it's sort of like it woke me up, like it brought me back to earth. And that's something about war, that war is, if you think that by seeing something on a phone screen or a video or reading about it, that you know what war is like, it's not just different, it's completely, like, war is different, prison is different. They are completely different worlds. They have different values, ethics, they have different standards of life, they have different food, they have a different time scale, they have different wants and needs. It's completely different. Prison is a different world, is a different planet, and so is war. So it suddenly woke me up, oh my god, I've come back to the world now. So yes, I flew back, and first 2 weeks, came back to London. First 2 weeks, I saw Bosnia every single night in my dreams for the first 2 weeks. I think there was an overload of emotions. The brain processes during sleep, and it's just processing the magnitude of what I have witnessed and experienced. It's just too much to handle, and I'm just seeing that. Then after 2 weeks, it became every other day, and I saw that for another month or so, or month or two, or something like that. So I went back to uni. I went back to my lectures, but my body is in London, but my mind is in Bosnia. That's all I'm thinking about. I'm collecting money for them. I'm sending them money. I'm making. I'm trying to do things, raise awareness, talk to people. And part of me was just this sense of responsibility that they're there in that house, they're there in those bunkers in the cold, and I'm here able to enjoy some nice food or sit in the heat and have heating and hot water. I need to do my bit for those people.
Two different places.
Yeah, two different places, and it's a sense of, some of it was guilt, of responsibility, that I'm here and they're over there, and it just wasn't enough. Whatever I was doing, just wasn't enough. My heart and mind was in Bosnia, but my physical body was in the UK. So I made a few trips back and forth throughout the war. There's a period for about 18 months where there's a three-way conflict with the Bosnians fighting the Serbs, who are fighting the Croats, who are also fighting the Muslims. So the Muslims were isolated, so there's no way in for about 18 months. You couldn't. I think that was from January 93 till about the early part of 94. About 14 months, maybe, something like that. It was a difficult period. And so I stayed there for as I came back and I made some more trips, and the most significant trip, or the last trip during the war, was a few weeks after the genocide at Srebrenica. Srebrenica took place in July 1995, where there was a village in eastern Bosnia which was under the control of the United Nations. They had guaranteed the safety of the people of that village. So paramilitaries overran that, and under General Mladic and Bratislav Kristic and others, in the space of about a week, they killed over 8,000 Bosnian Muslim men, women, and children. It was the UN later described it as Europe's worst massacre since the Second World War, since the Holocaust. UN soldiers, they were there, they saw it happen. So a few weeks after that, I think I was in London when I found out about it. Then I went back to Bosnia. I met some refugees that had come out of Srebrenica a few weeks after that. The magnitude of what had happened at Srebrenica, that's something strange about war. It doesn't really, you don't realize what you're actually in until afterwards. And then you oh my God, I was there. Or like, wow, this thing was big. For us, it was just like another big massacre has taken place. Which was in line with, okay, a big one, but it wasn't something out of the blue because there were lots of massacres had taken place, over there. Went back there. We took part in some fighting. We took part in this massive operation where there was like 11,000 troops, Bosnian army, the foreign fighters. So the foreign fighters at that point, they were part of the Bosnian army. They were like one of the cause of the Bosnian army. So they were under their command and control. There's about 11,000 soldiers took part in this battle, and in about 3 weeks we took back 1/3 of Bosnia. We took it back from the Serbs. So I was injured in that battle. I was injured early on, so I had to be like evacuated by helicopter to the main city. So a few days after that, I went back to our base camp, and there was a group of prisoners that had been captured. Group of Serb prisoners. Actually, they weren't. I think this group, they handed themselves in. They surrendered themselves to the Mujahideen fighters, Bosnian Serb prisoners, and they. So there's a room. There's about 10 of them were sitting on the floor, and so I went there to see these prisoners. I just wanted to talk to them, and there was a Bosnian brother there who spoke a bit of English, and I asked him if he can translate. So I was just asking them about different things, and then I said to them, about 3 years ago, I took part in a battle against your colleagues, but all your return fire went into the air, went into the sky. Why were you fighting? Why were you shooting in the sky? He then said something in his language, and when he said that, all the others mumbled in agreement. And as I'm telling you this, there's a small room. There's 10 guys around that room, like about 4 on one side, 4 on the left wall, 4 also on the right wall, and 2 on the far wall. The guy who's telling me this, he's the first or second person on the right, sitting down. He's around about age 40 or late 30s. He's got like I remember his mustache. His mustache sort of comes all the way down, goes down to his he's got a big thick mustache and stubble on his where his beard should be. So he said something. He replied to the guy. He said something in his language, and then all of them mumbled in agreement. And then the Bosnian brother, he translated. He goes, he say, "Sky people, sky people." And then I asked him, tell me what these sky people are. And he described, he goes, these are tall people with like guns and swords. They're wearing white, and they're like, they come and they fly down upon us, and they kill us, or they attack us. So these are the people that we were shooting back. This isn't a story I got from TikTok or I read somewhere. I mean, I'm talking to the guy with the mustache in his late 30s, who's sitting there on the first guy on the wall. He's the one that's telling me this, and all the others mumbled in agreement, like it's like no big deal. They weren't into like, oh my God, like it was like a normal occurrence for them, and those were angels.
These are the helpers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
Brother, even in Gaza,
Yeah.
a lot of the IDF were saying that they're fighting ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's many cases that I saw from there, many incidents that I heard. And we heard there was one where they were, a group of brothers are engaged in a firefight with a Serb who has a PK machine gun. So he's on the floor and he's firing at them. So he'll fire at them, so they will take cover, and then all of a sudden they will. Then when there's a lull in the fighting, or there's a pause for him to change his thing, whatever. Then they will start firing at him, and that's sort of how it goes on. So at one point, he's firing, but then he stops firing, and he stands up without his weapon. He's looking up in the sky, and he starts walking towards, like, it takes a few steps, looking with his head up in the sky. And the brothers are like, what's going on? Is he like surrendering or what? So they stop fighting. They don't shoot him because they're like, what's going on here? And then they see something lift his body like a meter or so off the floor, and then he just drops down. So when they went close up to him, they saw he was dead, but there's not a single bullet or a single there's not a single bullet or a any sort of sign of injury upon him. But there's one of the angels that killed him. There's another brother who was I know this brother personally. He's still alive. He was he told me the story himself, and he's they're attacking a Serb position, a Serb bunker, and their commander is this young guy, a young Saudi guy, 21, had this big afro. Thoban his name was. And so all of these guys are on the floor taking cover, and they're behind they're behind trees, and they're taking cover on the floor while they're being shot at. But Thoban is just standing up and saying to his group, he's motivating them, encouraging them to keep on fighting, keep on firing. Bullets are hitting him, and unbeknown to him, he's just like brushing them off. They're bouncing off him, just like that. And this brother's like looking at it. He doesn't even know that he's getting hit. Well, he's not getting hit, but he's just like, the bullets are bouncing off him. And he's being hit like this, like that, and he's just like brushing it off like it's like a prick. Yeah, I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He controls physics, He controls biology. He can bend those laws if He wants to. And, He does do that. So, a few days after that battle, everyone came back. I was injured. There's a few other people from our sort of like group. These are brothers from the UK. Some of them were injured as well. But there's one brother from one of the British brothers. He hadn't come back. So 8 days had gone by since the main battle, and everyone was accounted for, but he hadn't come back. So the commander, he sent a search party to look for him, because they thought maybe he's been captured by the Serbs. So I know one of the brothers who went out in the search party to look for him. So I think it was like Asr time, and I just finished making wudu in the Mujahideen base camp near Zavidovic. I just finished making wudu. We had these little black porter cabin type structures where you make wudu. I just finished making wudu. I remember I was drying my arms on my clothing, and then I saw a big crowd of people gathered around a van that had pulled into our camp, and it was sort of like 100 brothers or so of the fighters are swarming towards that van. So I thought, okay, maybe he's injured or whatever. They found him. So as I'm approaching that van, then I get this wind of this beautiful smell of perfume. There's something out of this world. It's like a scent out of this world. And it wasn't something anyone was wearing, because no one was around me. And, no one would have proper perfume there. Most of the people don't have perfume there. The odd guy might have. But I smelt that. Then as I came close, then one of the other British brothers, he said to me, that's Abu Mujahid. They found his body. He's Shaheed. And So the commander, he only let the 10 or 12 British guys, because everyone wanted to see it. So he's like ridiculous, you know. He'd only let the 10 or 12 British guys to go in and to see him. Open the back of the van, and he's lying there. He had these boots, I think Dana boots. So I remember, Dana boots. He had his watch. He had this like olive green keffiyeh scarf. And he had long hair. It's definitely him. There's no mistaking that it was him. And he was just lying there, and he'd been shot by one bullet through the heart. And he was on the mountain, and then his group went forward, and so no one really knew that he was there until they went afterwards to find him. But that smell of perfume was from his coming from his body. When someone is killed in battle, when there is a shaheed, then it's a great ceremony in the heavens and the earth, and special angels come down to witness the passing of this person. And when the angels, they come down from the heavens, then they bring down scents from the heavens as well. That's one explanation of where that smell comes from. And also their blood itself, sometimes there's been a lot of cases where blood smelling of musk, their blood smells of musk. People would like kept it on their handkerchiefs, and for like months later, like the handkerchief is still smelling of perfume. Many accounts of it. So many accounts of that it's like it doesn't even surprise me anymore. I think one case, like a couple of years, or the guy's watch or something like that, his family kept his watch, and they would go and they would like smell it, and it's smelling of perfume. Someone told me that story as well. So then I had to come back to the UK because I was injured. And then a few months after that, then the war came to an end with the Dayton peace agreement. That was at the end of 95. I mean, I've given a very brief sort of summary of just some of the key bits of the story.
Tell me some stories of people that you met there, maybe people that went with you or people that you met there. Is there stories that we would never hear of because it hasn't been spoken about, or perhaps because they've passed away on the battlefield? I'm just making sure I'm very clear in my words, because we don't believe that they are dead if they're killed in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Muslims who are shaheed, or even if some of them are still around today, but maybe some stories that shaped you. Or
so I think when you lose someone that you become close to, like a colleague or a comrade, and how it happened is that when we went there, I know when I went there, like when you're there amongst the Mujahideen, you want to defend the Muslims, you want to fight against the enemy, but you also want to become shaheed, because if you become shaheed, you go straight to paradise. You're not questioned in the grave, you're not questioned on the day of judgment, all your sins are forgiven, and you can intercede for 70 members of your family. There's a lot of great rewards for doing that. Now, how do you get that? You can't fake it. Like Allah chooses who is going to be killed in His way. So it's like, if there's like an exam, if there's like a class, and everyone's doing, like, say A-level, everyone's doing an exam. Some people are working, everyone's working, everyone's trying, but you want to outdo your peers. You want to do what they're not doing. So while they're watching TV at the end of a relaxing, they've been working all day in the library, and in the evening they want to watch TV, you're secretly going to be doing some more question papers because you want to get ahead. Or you want to be, while they're playing football, or others might be taking a break, or you're going to get up extra early and then do some extra work because you want to just get that edge. So in the same way, there's like a group of us, we're living there, and you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so He might put you on the list of those people that are going to be killed. So everyone gets up to pray Fajr at 5. You're going to set your alarm at 4. You're going to get up while everyone's asleep. You're going to go down, make the wood, get the wood, and you're going to start the fire to heat the water burners, so that when the other brothers, when they wake up to pray Fajr, and they will find that there's hot water inside the water burners, you'll get up, you'll pray Tahajjud. And you're doing this, in a world where people only understand affirmations and validations through likes. Yeah, I'm going for Umrah, click, selfie, here's a selfie, upload it. Yeah, I spent all night praying Tahajjud, then, post it on social media. Oh yeah, I gave some sadaqah, and I like, in this world where people are looking for likes, affirmations, and they're looking for validation from people, and they're looking for praise, we're trying to get likes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're trying to do these secret good deeds that, okay, if I do this, Allah might be happy with me, because the brothers, it's cold, they're going to get up, so that they don't have to make wudu in cold water. Allah might be, He would be happy with me. Or you're giving your charity, or you're helping people, or you're giving money to people that need it, or you're helping serve the food or clean the toilets. So I remember this brother Abu Mujahid, the one who was from whose body I smelled the perfume. So when we were living, he was my roommate. I think he was actually, me and him, we shared I think we shared a bunk. Yeah, I think he was on the top bunk and I was on the bottom bunk. I can't remember, maybe. And so we used to joke about, yeah, I'm going to be Shaheed, who's going to be Shaheed? And it's like someone who's going to be Shaheed is the one that's like got the prize now, because everyone's there looking for that prize. But you can't choose it, like Allah chooses it. And he would say, he goes, I'm going to be Shaheed, and that's it. And you're thinking, well, you're just an ordinary guy. I mean, he wasn't getting up, praying Tahajjud. He wasn't exceptional. But that's only to us. I don't know what's in his heart. To me, he's an ordinary guy. He prays, reads a bit of Quran. He, he not getting up for Tahajjud. He's not like day and night. He's just reading Quran. He's like pious. He's having dreams and all that stuff. That's to me though. But I don't know what's in his heart. I don't know what's inside his heart. That secret that he has with Allah, only Allah knows that he had it. That to us, to everyone else, he appeared as just a normal guy, but there was something special about him, because Allah chose him. Out of all of us, Allah chose him to be the one. And he used to say that, yeah, I'm going to be Shaheed, and we just like tease him. And he was a joker, he was a funny guy. And he was Shaheed. He was the one that was killed. He was 21. Yeah, he was a student from London. He's a lot of people, you don't know his name. You don't know his real name. He doesn't have a social media profile. There's no videos about him where he's like talking. Doesn't have a YouTube channel. Okay, there was no YouTube in that time, but you don't see him giving lectures or anything like that. If it's recognition that you want, if it's respect and honor that you want, where people, they seek respect and honor through likes and through comments and following and things like that, if it's recognition you're after, then seek that recognition from the Lord of the worlds. Seek it from Him. Seek it by pleasing Him, and He will establish recognition for you on the earth. Seek to please Him. We have this thing where people, they act in such strange ways and clickbait and making controversial things and comments and posts, and all to get like some sort of recognition or to be like one up. And I heard this thing the other day where some guys going into some foul mouth thing and making threats, and it apparently all in the name of dawah. And you got no right to criticize us because we're on the front line and we're there. And bro, you buried your own friend. You've seen what a bullet does to a bone when it goes inside? It shatters that bone to pieces. Have you seen shrapnel injuries? Have you seen people paralyzed? Have you seen? Have you buried your own friends? Frontline is not sitting behind a phone and like arguing with some waste people on YouTube. That's not frontline. Frontline is where any minute a bullet could come into your head, or you'll be lucky if it comes into your head because you'll be shaheed. But I met people that are paralyzed for life because the bullet severed their spinal cord, and they're paralyzed for life. And then you see those people a few years later, and they're on wheelchairs, and then they have to use like disabled toilets, and they can't walk, and they need people to lift them up off their beds and put them into their chairs. A lifetime of being an invalid. You know, like if it's a recognition that you seek, and I think that is something that you know, generations, sometimes this is something that in this age of fake social media that people forget. They're trying to get recognition from people. Seek that recognition from Allah. And all of these people that I saw, these real men, all this talk about masculinity, I want to be the alpha male. Everyone wants to be that. Why do you want to be the alpha male, bro? Why do you want to be the alpha male? Why? What benefit is it going to bring you in the dunya or akhirah? Why do you want to be the alpha male? All of those people, they're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He's going and he's getting wood and putting it in the burner so his brothers will have hot water. That's an alpha male right there. He's not looking for no recognition. He doesn't want anyone to see him. They're hiding their good deeds as if they were sins. They're doing their good. Nowadays, where people doing all of their good deeds in public to try and get some recognition, like they're hiding their good deeds as if they were sinning. As if they were sin. They didn't want anyone to know. They'd get offended. They wouldn't want anyone to know that they're doing these good deeds. They only want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only want Him to know. I saw guys that were, this one young Yemeni brother, and if you see the Yemenis, if some of this fake masculinity crew, if they saw some of those Yemeni brothers, they'll think they're like effeminate. That's what they'll think about them. Young guys, late teens, hardly beard has grown. Some of them got long eyelashes, so they even look like effeminate. You know, just like crying all the time, or like hugging, kissing each other. Even like their body like movements. And you see these guys in battle, you see them run towards those bunkers, and you think, what the hell, where did that come from? You know, it's good for you know, any young Muslim man. One of the best things that a young Muslim man can and should do is to build strength in his body, lift weights. It releases stress. It builds confidence. It's one of the best things to do. Learn how to fight. Do all of these things, but that's not what makes you a man. That doesn't make you a man. You want to be a man? Soften your heart. Soften your heart is what makes you a man. Have your muscles. You know, people think that having big muscles is what makes you a man. No, it doesn't. Have a soft heart. There was Abdullah bin Mas'ud, companion of the Prophet ﷺ. He had skinny legs. He was so skinny that the Sahaba would tease him about it. So once he climbed up a tree to get something, and the wind came and it blew his thobe away, exposing his skinny legs, and the Sahaba began to laugh. The Prophet ﷺ, he saw that. When he heard, he came to them. He said, you're laughing at these legs, at these skinny legs? He said, in the sight of Allah, these legs are more heavier than the mountain of Uhud. That's just the legs. Forget the head, which is like where forget that. Just those legs. So build your body. Learn MMA, UFC, learn martial arts. As a Muslim man, you should be doing all these things anyway. You don't have to put it on your blooming profile. You should be doing these things anyway. But that's not what makes you a man. Having a soft heart is what makes you a man. Treating your wife with respect is what makes you a man. Taking care of women, not beating and battering them in the name of some sort of some fake masculinity. Beating defenseless women in houses, which is a pandemic that is affecting our communities. domestic violence and all that. You ain't no alpha male, bro. Swearing at a woman, raising your hand at a woman, soften your heart. Soften your heart before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you want to be a real man. These people that I saw, the brothers that I lived with, some real men, real men, quiet. You don't even know their names. You don't know their names. You don't know their social media profiles. These were people on the front line, and they were brave. I'm in awe of these people, and I buried some of these people. I saw their bodies, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows their names, and He knows their who these people were. So there's many stories. I could go on and on, but really, I think as a message, I would say to brothers that are brothers and sisters who are listening to this, especially from the UK, this is your history. This is your history. These are people who are buried in Bosnia. A few years ago, I went there and I went to their graveyard, and I went to their graveyard. That's why when I said at the beginning that part of me is in Bosnia and would always be, then part of Bosnia is in me. This is your history, and know your history. Don't do anything. I mean, obviously, if something like that happened today, I don't think I would go. It's different. It was a different time. It was a different era. Know that if you go and get involved in a foreign conflict, then there's legal and health consequences. People are blinded. They're paralyzed to this day. It's not a joke. War is not a joke. The real front line. I don't mean the YouTube Dawah front line. I don't mean that. I mean the real front line. It has consequences. There's risks to going there. And in many countries, could be the country that you live in, it's against the law. And if you're going to go there, you could be arrested and put in prison, whatever. There's many things that you can do, but don't do something that would put you unnecessarily at risk. And learn about masculinity. Learn about masculinity from you can't learn about masculinity from people that aren't real men. And I witnessed, I saw real men in those places that no one knew about, and only Allah knows about. May Allah accept them.
Finally, what would your message be to the youth who are listening to this? Why should they be interested in such a story? How are they even connected to it, perhaps? Are they connected to it? Should they be connected to it? And lastly, what are the lessons that we can learn from the whole Bosnia episode as an ummah today?
Deep questions. If there is a fire in the house, and if there's a house and there's a fire there and there's a father there, and he saves his family, his wife, his children, it's not that remarkable because any father would do that. But if there's a neighbor or someone else from a neighboring street who doesn't even know that family, or who doesn't know anything about them, and he goes in and he risks himself in order to save that family, that's something that is admirable. So the people that I've spoken about were people that had no reason. It was someone else's country. They had no common language or ethnicity. They only shared their religion, and they did which was at that time possible for them to do, which now it's not possible to do that, but at that time it was possible for them to do that, and they did it, and they gave their lives for it. So breaking that down, when you do service for someone else, when you do service for your brothers and sisters, not even for your brothers and sisters who are Muslims, for others, because the Prophet ﷺ was not just sent as a mercy to the believers. He was sent as a mercy to all the worlds, to the world of jinn, to the world of animals, to humanity. And as a Muslim, when you do service for others, you're helping your brothers and sisters, those that are suffering, those that are in need, those that are homeless, even people that are just human beings. As a Muslim, you should feel softness in your heart towards anyone who's in pain. This is our history. I mean, Bosnia was, I think it was the defining, that period of the 1990s and the war in Bosnia. And again, not to diminish, I mean, Gaza in my lifetime, it is the most publicized genocide and Holocaust. But in terms of brutality, of upfront brutality, I have not seen in my life, not in Chechnya, not in Kosovo, partly in Kosovo, but not entirely, not like Bosnia. It didn't happen in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, in any of these Arab Spring places. That level, even in Gaza, that level of upfront, like sadistic brutality of cutting open the bellies of pregnant Muslim women and dragging out the fetuses and replacing it with pig fetuses, for example, or cat fetuses. That level of depravity, that level of depravity I haven't seen, not in my lifestyle. A message, I mean, what message would I give to the young people? Study your history. Study your history. Study the history of the Sahaba. There's one thing that I did in my whole life. This is what I would say. Don't take as role models those that are alive, because they may change. But take as role models those that have died, because you know what they died upon. I seen in my life, there were people that were like big personalities with charismatic and charisma and very eloquent and articulate, and they started off talking about Islam, and then later on they left the deen, or they became something else. You look at the Sahaba, not just the Sahaba, but you look at personalities after them, and you know what they died upon. Try to match yourself according to them. There's one thing that I did. There was this book by this author called Abdul Wahid Hamid, and he wrote this collection of books called The Companions of the Prophet. And I first read that when I was like 12 years old, I think. And I think almost every year of my life after that, for a large part of my life, even the years that I was in prison, I had those books, and I would read those books at least once a year, and I would compare myself to those stories. I would say, where am I? Which of these stories am I? And I would use it to calibrate myself, or to recalibrate myself to see where I was. The Sahaba, the greatest generation who are not prophets to ever live on this earth. If you're lost in life, if you're lost in direction, if you don't know what you're meant to be doing, or you don't know about your deen or who to follow, just go back to them. Go back to them and do what they did, and you'll make it in the end.
Jazakallah khair for that. Jazakallah khair for that. I enjoyed this interview a lot. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And inshallah, I hope outside of this interview we can continue to hear more stories, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And that's it for this episode. I want to thank Babar Ahmad for taking out the time to speak to me. I mean, if we were to go through his life story, I don't think the podcast will ever end. And you can hear a lot of his prison stories online on YouTube. Next up, I sat down with a local imam whose khutbahs I've been listening to for years and years and years, only to find out he's from Bosnia. So I decided, let's speak to him. I'll see you in the next episode.